Hi, everybody. Here's your Tuesday poll result from Smerconish.com. Again, heavy voting. Love it. Thank you for the voting, especially during the weekdays. 36,708. Does Barack Obama have any obligation to be more visible in his opposition to Donald Trump? 69.07% said no, he does not. 30.93% said that he does. Mark Leibovich, writing for The Atlantic, great guest on yesterday's radio program, is the one who really initiated this conversation. He talks about Obama popping in with summer and year-end book, music, and film recommendations. In normal times, no one would deny Obama these diversions. He performed the world's most stressful job for 8 years, served his country, made history, deserved to kick back and do the usual ex-president things, start a foundation, build a library, make unspeakable amounts of money. But the inevitable Trump era counterpoint is that these are not normal times. And then he builds on that, but roughly 70% of those who voted yesterday at Smerconish.com didn't see it the same way. Today, the Wednesday poll question. This is one of those days where it could only be one thing. It could only be one thing. Should the U.S. use a B-2 bomber and drop a bunker buster bomb on the Iranian nuclear facility at Furdo? Thank you to my friends at Parks Casino. You know that I love music. I've got very varied musical tastes. The music of the radio program is really important to me. Along with Dan and with our listener, Larry Paul, I'm very involved in determining what are the returns that we use, the bumper music that we use. So I'm interested in what's coming to the Excite Center at Parks Casino in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, so close to New Jersey, less than 2 hours from New York, less than an hour from Delaware. And they've got it all. WXPN welcoming Gary Clark Jr., UB40, Australian Pink Floyd, by the way, with the Wish You Were Here 50th anniversary, which I think they do note for note just how it was on the album, which is the way I always want to hear it. The Revivalists, roots rock with a modern twist. The tour is called All in the Family, 10 Years of Men Amongst Mountains. Kansas, the Psychedelic Furs, guest Gary Newman, Everclear, Sparkle and Fade 30th anniversary tour, Almost Queen, a Queen tribute, and Bill Murray and his Blood Brothers. Tickets for everything at parkscasino.com. You got to be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So the Wednesday poll question is as follows. Should the U.S. use a B-2 bomber and drop a bunker buster bomb on the Iranian nuclear facility at Furdo? It had to be that as a poll question. I suggested as much yesterday when Admiral Stavridis was on the program. Perfect guest to have yesterday. I asked him something different. I asked him if it would happen. I'm asking you whether it should happen. His answer, by the way, was to say, he gave me a twofer. His answer was to say that there's a 2/3 chance that it does happen and that he thought it was a dangerous prospect and that the U.S. better be prepared to answer the question of what are we doing the day after? What are we doing the day after? This issue represents the first division of significance within MAGA world. You've got people who have the president's ear lining up on both sides of what should transpire. J.D. Vance wrote a lengthy post for X that I'll read on radio at length today, laying out his thinking. He's very loyal to the president in this regard. Last night, air assaults on Tehran continued. You also had, in terms of an update, the Supreme Leader Khomeini from Iran saying, quote, the battle begins. You had Trump on Truth Social putting out a message of unconditional surrender. One of the most interesting backstories that I see in all of this is the role, or more recently, the lack of role, of Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, as recently as March, said American intel agencies don't believe that Iran is building a nuclear weapon. But Israel's military asserted hours after initiating the attack on Iran last, Thursday night, that the U.S. information was outdated and that Iran was racing toward a nuclear bomb. Something that I'm very eager to play on radio today, and you can watch it because it's an X posting, and I reposted it with my own note of worth a watch. But The Daily Show has put together clips of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu going back like 20 years, essentially saying in each instance that it's imminent. It's imminent, it's imminent, it's imminent that Iran is going to have this nuclear capability. And by the way, I guess he only needs to be right once. I acknowledge that. If he's right one time, but apparently he hasn't been right every time. So it makes me suspect of the intel, and frankly, in my mind, brings back visions of someone for whom I had the utmost respect and still do. He's gone, but Colin Powell. I mean, I remember on the whole, does Saddam Hussein have weapons of mass destruction? My own view fluctuated on whether we should take preemptive action in Iraq. And I know that I was swept up in a post 9/11 mindset that probably clouded my thinking. It was a mistake. It was a mistake to go into Iraq. So part of me says on this issue, are we sure? And haven't we learned our lesson? And what Tulsi Gabbard had to say? And by the way, do you know what her penance was for having offered that opinion? That opinion and something else that I look forward to sharing on radio today. She recently visited Hiroshima, and after visiting Hiroshima, put on X a video, very well done, very well produced, where she was speaking to the camera, but images were being shown reflective of what transpired to bring World War II to a close, and she was speaking about the horrors of nuclear war. In fact, here's the written message that accompanied what Gabbard had to say. I recently visited Hiroshima and stood at the epicenter of a city scarred by the unimaginable horror caused by a single nuclear bomb dropped in 1945. What I saw, the stories I heard, and the haunting sadness that remains will stay with me forever. And apparently, the president saw the video, was incensed, complained to associates that she'd spoken out of turn, and the reporting, and you can read Politico today on this, June the 8th was when she made her posting. And on June the 10th, there was a meeting at Camp David of security officials, the national security officials closest to the president, and she's been cut out. And she's been cut out. So, yeah, I'm certainly not voting yes, we need to do this, because I'm suspect of Netanyahu. I'm concerned about how Gabbard raises the intel that she has as the head of DNI, and she's now cut out because what? That's not what the president wants to hear. And I'm mindful of just different episodes in the past where, I mean, there's been a lot of intervention on the part of the United States where we were successful, where we saved lives. And I'm really focused on a post-World War II timeline, because World War II, we were attacked. So I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking where we were not directly involved. And you could say South Korea was a success. You could say that Bosnia and Kosovo were a success. You could speak of Panama. You could talk about the first Gulf War, Gulf War, and the role that we played on HW's watch of expelling Iraq from Kuwait. We could put Grenada into that mix. But there's also a list of where our involvement in foreign entanglements, where President Trump twice in campaigns told us he was not going to involve us in forever wars. I guess I could say 3 times. But Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, Lebanon, the Bay of Pigs, if I want to go back to Kennedy. And so I'm very dubious. I am very dubious that that this is something we should be doing. And also because of the inconsistency that we've heard. The attack by Israel on Iran was Thursday night into Friday a week ago. And as recently as Monday, President Trump was saying, don't do it. The day before, he was saying, don't do it. And then immediately after, his tone shifted and things that he was saying. And remember, I left out a big piece of this. The attack by Israel was Thursday night, and the first statement of any significance that was put out was by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, saying, hey, this is not us. Don't retaliate again. These are the Israelis. And then within 48 hours, there was a shift. There was a tonal shift, and now it was the president using the pronoun we. We did this, we do that, et cetera, et cetera. Here's what we might do. And my impression at the time was that it had gone well for Israel, that the Mossad had again, outwitted, outperformed Iran, and Trump wanted in on the victory. Speaking specifically, here's my example, speaking specifically as to how, well, I gave them 60 days and this is day 61. It doesn't give me a high level of confidence. And I think this is a major decision. It's a huge decision. It's a huge decision. Israel can't take out Furdo without us. The B-2 bombers are necessary to drop a 30,000-pound ordnance. So this requires direct involvement by the United States. We would be the initiator, as between the United States and Iran. Makes me very concerned. Very, very concerned. Should the U.S. use a B-2 bomber and drop a bunker buster bomb on the Iranian nuclear facility at Furdo? I am a no vote. Knowing what I know now, open-minded to be convinced that they really are on the verge of something. But listen to the audio of Netanyahu over the years from The Daily Show. I'll play it on radio today. You can listen to it on your own. If you follow me on X, you'll get there in a hurry. I'm very interested to see which way this goes. Just one observation, if I may. It may hold up today and it may not. But in the last 3.5 years, whenever the question has been about, the poll question has been about Ukraine and Russia, the more robust, the more hawkish military response always wins out. Should we give this to Ukraine? Should we allow Ukraine to do that? Should we take on Putin? Blah, 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 blah. I don't see that in the voting thus far. We've had a number of poll questions relative to Israel and Iran. Thoroughly unscientific, but interesting nonetheless. Should the U.S. use a B-2 bomber and drop a bunker buster bomb on the Iranian nuclear facility at Furdo? I don't think it's a no-brainer. I'm not critical of you if you're on either side of this. I think it's a close call, but I'm not convinced for the reasons that I've just discussed. Please go vote at Smerconish.com. Like and subscribe, and set yourself up for notifications. Have a great day, and thank you. Stay safe.